today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I purchased my first home at the age of 20, pros and cons of owning a home, and if you are in the market to owning a home, I'm going to be sharing you some tips on what to look out for before you start looking. Hello everyone, my name is Mariah. I am your fellow small business owner, and on this channel I like to share with you business tips, give you business advice, money advice, grant opportunities. Now if that interests you, make sure you subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all of my content. So let's jump right into it. When I was 18 years old, I knew that I wanted to move out of my parents' home by the age of 20. It was not because of anything serious. I had started a business and I knew one day that I wanted to expand, so I needed more space. For that to happen, I knew I wanted to own a house. Here's exactly how I did that. I started working on my credit. I took out my first loan. After that, my credit just started building from there. When it comes to buying a house, credit is going to be the most important thing, especially if you plan on getting a loan for your house. As I started looking for my house, most loan places I found out will not even give you the time of day if you don't have at least a 640. And that's because they know that you have some type of credit responsibility. I know there are some companies out there where you could qualify for a little lower, but your interest is going to be a lot higher. So I recommend to start working on your credit at least 1 to 2 years before you plan on purchasing your first home. So what I am going to do is go down a list of things that you should know about the home buying process. First off, the home buying process can take at least 2 to 4 months to complete, depending on the loaning bank, when the previous owner is moving out the house, when inspections are done. Everything is going to contribute to how long the process is. Be prepared for that. Now that you got your credit score up, I'm going to give you some preparation tips for buying a home. You start going out looking for different loans. You're trying to decide between 15 years or 30-year loans. The one thing I will mention, the difference between doing a 15-year and a 30-year is you'll pay more a month for a 15-year loan, but overall it's going to be less interest than a 30-year loan. A 30-year loan just makes it a little bit cheaper for you to own a home. Also, you want to make sure when you start looking for loans to get a pre-approval. I know some realtors won't even try to show you homes unless you have a pre-approval letter. That is something that I got before I started looking at homes. And that will also let you know what budget you can stay within or what type of home that you can afford. When you fill out for your first loan and you get your pre-approval, make sure you give yourself a pat on the back. But then you're going to apply for a couple more. Just because you get a pre-approval for one company, you have another company that might offer you more. They might offer you less interest depending on your credit. So just don't take the first pre-approval you get. I filled out for 2 loans, and I also liked it my second pre-approval way better. Not only were they offering me lower interest, but they actually approved me for $20,000 more. And this will not affect your credit score. They give you about a 7-day grace period to apply for different loans. So remember that. It only dings your credit once. Now that you figured out which mortgage company you're gonna go with, it's time to find a realtor. Here are some things to look out for when looking for a realtor. I found my realtor on Zillow.com. I had a realtor, super friendly. He gave me a lot of knowledge about houses, and he also gave me a little bit of knowledge about the investment world. He was awesome as a realtor and he helped me out tremendously. One thing that will always stick with me is that he told me, if you ever come across a realtor who is trying to get you to find a house at your max budget, find another realtor, because that type of realtor is only out for the money. Please, if you can really do this, do not purchase a home at the max of your approved amount. Why? Because the payments are going to be high. I almost fell into this trap if it was not for my realtor. It was a home that I wanted to buy, actually $4,000 more than what I got approved for. I was trying to get the homeowner to come down on their price. It was about 5 days and they had got back to me saying, unfortunately, they just can't accept my offer. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I actually found a home that I absolutely love. The area was perfect. So if you can, just don't jump to get a house that's at the max of your budget. Next, Now that you found your realtor, let's start looking for houses. I suggest you line up at least 5 or more houses. Just don't jump at the first thing. Have at least 5 houses to look at. I viewed 12 houses in total before I made my final decision. If you have a realtor that's really pushing you to get a home right at the beginning, that should be another red flag. Always find a realtor who's patient with you. Once you find a house that you absolutely love, you sent in your offer was approved, you're going to have to get a mandatory inspection. You get your inspection done. The inspector tells you there's a few things wrong with the property. Here's 2 different ways you can go about getting this fixed. Number 1, you can ask the previous owner to fix the issues with the house so that you won't come out of pocket doing it yourself, or you can ask the previous owner to deduct some of the costs in the total cost of the house so that you can get these things prepared. Don't ever let those things slide. Sometimes those issues make the house not livable and they have to get fixed before you move in. If they refuse to do either or, cut your losses and try to find a new house. This is something that you're going to be living in for a while, so don't bend. The next tip, ask for help on your closing costs. So you're going to be asking the previous owners to help you with your closing costs. What that is saving you a little extra money. More than likely, if you have a nice owner and you don't have any issues with like the inspection, they're going to be more willing to help you pay for your closing costs. The previous owners of my current house helped pay for the closing costs, so all I had to bring in was a $412 check to closing. Another thing that you're going to need to know in the process of buying your home, you will need to keep at least 5 to 10% of the house costs in your bank account. That means if they see that you cannot keep that money, the bank might actually not even loan you the money. Nothing is finalized until you sign your name on that line. I know during the pandemic, the housing market was crazy, but it's finally starting to settle down. So I know these type of deals can happen again. Also, what you're going to want to do is figure out what type of location you want to live in before you start looking at homes. That's the first thing I did. And you also want to think of things that you would like in your home. Like if you would like an attached garage, if you would like a big closet, if you want a house with just a shower or a house with a bath and a shower. Think about all those things before looking at homes. I gave you a ton of knowledge on what to look for when buying a home. I'm going to be sharing with you a few pros and cons of being a homeowner. So let's start with the pros. You won't have to deal with landlords. I have heard of horror stories of landlords unlocking that front door, walking straight in like they do own the place, but just like they just belong there at that time. Being nosy, that's one thing. When being a homeowner, you don't have to deal with landlords. You may have to deal with banks every once in a while, but that's usually over the phone. So that's a plus in my books. That's exactly why I never wanted to rent. I always wanted to own my home. Another pro is that if you are late on a payment, you usually get a 3-month grace period before you actually go in default or the banks start calling you. If it comes to a late payment when you're renting, I know there's some landlords, one late payment and you're out. Another pro is that you can turn your home into a rental property whenever you feel like it. Another pro is that you have a freedom to do whatever you want to your home if you do not live in an HOA. Nothing against HOAs, but me personally, I don't want people to tell me what I can and can't do with the home that I'm buying. I like the freedom to, if I wanted to paint my house pink, I can paint my house pink, okay? But I would say a pro to a HOA is that everyone's houses have to stay up to par, so I guess that's a pro, but me, I don't care what the neighbor's house looks like. So those are going to be a couple pros to owning a home. There's hundreds of more. Now to the cons. Con number 1 will be if anything breaks, there's a leak coming through your house, you're going to have to come straight out your pocket and fix it. I've heard of some people who get houses and then they regret it because they always have to do repairs. Now for me, I don't have an issue doing that because, I mean, it's your home. Everything breaks once in a while. Do you get mad that you have to get oil change? Do you get mad that you have to get your tires rotated every once in a while? No. This is the place where you lay your head every night, so you should want to keep it as safe and fresh as you possibly can. So getting maintenance every once in a while, nothing to me, but I know that has actually turned people off from wanting to own homes. You have to worry about property tax and home insurance. Definitely if you have a mortgage, you can't get away from home insurance just in case something happens to your house, like your house burns down. That covers your back and also the mortgage company's back. If you don't have an escrow account, you'll have to worry about paying your property taxes every year. So you'll have to not only pay your mortgage, but remember to always save a little bit for your property taxes if you do not have an escrow account. The good thing about the mortgage company they gave me the option of getting an escrow account. I just found that was easier for me. Whatever you pay every month, they'll also include partial of your taxes and your home insurance, so they can pay it for you, so you don't have to worry about paying that every year or 6 months or so. And the con to follow up with having home insurance is that the rates can change, which can actually make your mortgage change every year. I know some people say, oh, my mortgage went up. It wasn't the interest on your home, or wasn't the price on your home. 9 times out of 10, it was your home insurance premium that went up. It could have went up for any type of reason, but it went up, and that caused your mortgage payment to go up. If you have an escrow account, what the mortgage company does is they're going to pay it regardless if you have enough in your escrow account or not, no matter what. So what they do is they are going to adjust your monthly payment so that you will pay them back whatever extra they had to pay on your new premium. A tip I will tell you to do is look for new home insurance every year. See if you can find a new rate. That happened to me, and that's because my home insurance had went up after the first year. I did some research and I found out you can get new home insurance every year. So what I did the next year was I found a company that was like $600 cheaper in premiums than my previous company, and I switched to that company. And a year later, my mortgage company sent me a check for $700 and so because I had too much money in my escrow account. So it always finds a way to even out. If you don't have enough, they'll charge you more on your mortgage payment. If you have too much, they'll send you a check in the mail. So it's always good to look for different rates. Okay, that's basically how I got my home. I started building my credit at the age of 18. I started looking for good locations to move to. I made sure I was at my job long enough. I made sure I had enough income. It's so much more that you can learn about owning a home, so make sure you do more research about it before you do that. I'm gonna end the video right here. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give me a like. If you have any questions about the home buying process or any business related questions, leave them down below in the comments, and for more, make sure you subscribe.